Bubba, what you cooking, man?
What's up, Iron Minds fan? Trey Griggs here. Welcome to this morning's show. Michael Lombard, Nick Klingensmith. What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
Good morning. Good morning.
This is like the Christmas Eve show of Iron Minds because Christmas Eve is next Tuesday. So this is like the Christmas Eve show of Christmas Eve coming up. This is the last one before Christmas Eve. How you guys doing today?
I got my Christmas onesie all picked out for next week. And you say we're not?
Oh, nice. Is it? No, we're doing it, dude. I'm getting up on Tuesday next week. Is it a Grinch onesie? Come on, tell us more about this, or are we gonna be surprised?
I'll just say it's more like Elf.
Oh, well, that's Grinch, Elf. I mean, you can't go wrong either way. You can't.
It's definitely hard to deviate from those.
Can't go wrong. I'm definitely thinking of the Grinch because we had our choir concerts this weekend, 4 of them, 4 shows for the Masters of Harmony. And we do a little skit, little play for the kids, the family-friendly aspect of it. And we had the Grinch show up this year, so it's top of mind right now, and actually went really, really well. So that was good. All right, boys, listen. We got to talk about this because we're in the throes of it right now. Let's just be honest. It's Christmas season. There's cookies everywhere. There's just stuff all over the place. And mentally, it's a barrage. It's like we know we shouldn't, but then we want to, and there's social pressure sometimes, or sometimes we just cave. We give these excuses in our mind, that kind of thing. I think today we need to talk about the mental side of getting in shape. And while we do that, hey, Jeff Dickinson, good morning from New Jersey. Are you taking care of those drones, Jeff Dickinson? Shoot them down, man. Shoot them down. Do whatever you got to do, my friend. But, Michael, you've talked about this a lot, about your journey, about the mind and just deciding, like making a decision and sticking to it. But you also came up with the Lombard 69, kind of a little take off of 75 hard. I'd love to hear both of your thoughts because Nick, your journey is incredible as well. It's from a mental standpoint of being able to overcome some things you've had in your life. Let's wrap a little bit about the mental side of getting healthy and is it important? Does it matter? What do you do?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I mean, when it comes to the mental side of things, and I'm glad you touched on it. I mean, it is December, and when it comes to the holiday season, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago with embracing the Christmas spirit. December is actually a really tough time of year for a lot of people. Least amount of sunlight. For some reason, December is the month with the highest rate of heart attacks. There's a lot of wild stats about December. I mean, a good friend of mine just lost his father last week. When I was in Afghanistan, one of our good friends was KIA. So it's a tough time of year in general. I mean, a lot of it's stemming from that lack of sunlight. But I think the people even mention, there's a word for it. It's called seasonal depression. And for the past several years, I don't get that at all. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lifestyle. I was just, I recently joined this gym here in Austin called On It, and there's such a community and culture there.
That's kind of fun.
I was talking to one of the coaches there, and I was like, man, I feel like if On It was nationwide, you could solve the mental health crisis, because I feel like the root cause of so much is culture and community, and which is stemming from the foundation of the fact that it is a gym. So it's showing that, I mean, it's kind of what people want / need / when it comes to improving mental health. I've never left that place. Worse than I never left that place unhappy, so to speak. But and then kind of going into it, but again, it dials back to it dials back to overall fitness and lifestyle. But it's hard to start. It's hard to find a place to start to get on the level of where my mind is at, my iron mind is
Yeah.
at. Can't happen overnight. Like obviously who I am today is the product of the past 6 or so years. A day by day endeavor. And I think I created a great 69-day program to help build you into those habits and maybe get you there quicker than I did. And I coined it, and I basically kind of bastardized a little bit of 75 hard, because as soon as I finished 75 hard, I said, how can I make this? Because I wanted to do it as a driver. You wanted to do it just to, but for the wrong reasons. I just wanted to do 75 hard as a driver because for the bragging rights, because it's that much harder. But I never ended up doing it because I never wanted to compromise sleep while driving. And I know in a lot of ways, if you're doing 75 hard, you may have to compromise certain nights of sleep. So I just couldn't piece up the schedule how I wanted. I would have either had to miss a workout or mainly miss a workout is probably what I would have failed on the most.
Yeah.
So what I did was I kept a few of the rules, but I kind of just tweaked it. So essentially, if you wanted to do this 69-day program, which I believe it's doable for a driver, it's doable for somebody who works desk. We had good friend of the show, John Lorati. He had completed it, and essentially, so for 69 days, you would do. So instead of following the diet, you focus on getting 100 grams more protein per day. So that's it. Like diet wise, that's the diet goal.
You don't have to count anything. You don't have to do anything. It's just focus on grams of protein. Just focus on that.
Just focus on getting 100 plus grams of protein per day.
Put that in perspective. Like what would what's 100 grams of protein? Is that a 8-ounce steak? Is that 10 beef jerky sticks? What is that? Help us out here.
I mean, what's great is you can kind of easily do that. So I mean, a lot of people don't realize they're probably not eating enough protein, but you can go out there and find it. So you can go get that Fairlife Core Power chocolate milk. That thing's got 42 grams of protein in it. I mean, that's half your protein in a day right there. You couple that with 1 or 2 protein bars with 20 or 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
I mean, there's your 100. And what that does is it has you seeking foods that are higher in protein content. And when you start seeking foods with higher protein content, you're probably when you focus on that one macronutrient, when you're focusing on just getting the protein, you're probably going to end up you're going to find yourself straying away from food that doesn't have high protein content. You'll probably end up reducing your calories anyway. That's kind of that's kind of the thought process behind it. And the second thing is the movement. So challenging yourself to get 7,000 or more steps per day. So not even raising the bar to 10,000. Stick it with 7,000, because if you're strictly sedentary, you're going, to up yourself to 7,000. And 7,000 is really where the health benefits start to kick in. Third thing, instead of a gallon of water a day, make it 2 liters. I understand that if you are driving, going to the bathroom is a real possibility. So you stick it with 2 liters of water,
which is a little more than half a gallon. A little more than half a gallon. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get the 2 liters of water in per day. You're going to end up probably drinking more. Be just off a sheer probability. But when you give yourself a target goal of something of 2 liters and you just hit that consistently, you're going to end up doing more. And then I kept the other couple of rules from 75 hard of not drinking alcohol, taking a daily progress photo, and reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book. And which all of those are important, because the photos are especially important, because if you are somebody who regularly drinks maybe once a week and then you go 69 days without it, you're going to see a difference in your skin, your face, your eyes.
Yeah,
and those are things
crazy.
And those are things that are going to keep you inspired. And at the end of 69 days, even if the scale doesn't move, there's probably 100% chance you will feel better. And you've set yourself up now with habits like John has, that he's carrying with him over and over into each day.
Yeah, no, 100%. And from a water perspective, I found that just having a water bottle nearby changes the whole game. Like if you're trying to just put it in glasses, there's something about having a water bottle. So if you have one, make sure that you're filling it up. If you don't have one, you can get one on our store, Iron Minds. We have water bottles. This is a phenomenal bottle. Just have one nearby because that makes a huge difference. If you're seeing your water bottle all day, a lot of times you're going to drink more water. Hey, before we go to you, Nick, we got a couple people in the comments. Jeff Dickinson wants to know, Mike, how many miles do you log walking every morning? Tucker Bean, what's up? Good to see you. Scott Watanabe, the Freight Sensei, back in the house again today. And Rahana, welcome. Thanks for joining. Good to see you guys. So, Mike, how many miles you logging every morning?
Yeah, every time we do Iron Minds, I know we only rip for a certain amount of time, so I basically round it out to where, like, by the time I get back in, I try to get 2 miles in of walking in about 45 minutes.
Nice. And it doesn't take much, just get out there and you're rucking about 25, 30 pounds on top of that.
Yeah, I got the 20-pound vest.
Yeah, so you got a little extra there, which is good. It's just a little stuff. I think, when I think of mentally, like the fit side of things, it's recognizing that the little decisions just add up over time. The little decisions bad add up over time. The little decisions good add up over time. And just starting to kind of think through those micro decisions, not killing yourself, not putting a lot of, guilt and shame on yourself, but just thinking like, okay, yeah, I can have that cookie right now, totally. But it's just a momentary pleasure, or I can just pass up on it right now and wait for later, just push it off a little bit. And that one small decision can actually change the course of the day because you have one cookie at 11 a.m. in the morning, and now you're like maybe setting yourself up for a worse part of the day. Just some of those little micro decisions can make a big difference. Nick, talk about the mental side for you, especially with some of the stuff you've been through, and how is that really been a catalyst for your journey?
I actually want to reframe the entire conversation from the beginning, and here's why.
Reframe it. Let's do it.
In the beginning, you talked about fitness like it's a problem. Like, oh, I can't have those cookies. Oh, it's hard because of this. Oh, and that. And it almost was like we're depriving ourselves or punishing ourselves by not doing things that are bad for us. And so fitness doesn't prevent us from having the cookie. Fitness is why I can have the cookie. So
yeah,
and it's because it is about decisions, and it is about all those micro decisions. And I always say this: I say that good habits are a gateway drug, because I started training for one race that was 8 years ago, and it completely changed my life. Lombard mentioned John Lalaurie there. We're in another thread right now talking about him doing a Spartan race this year. So it went from not doing anything to the Lombard 69 to what else am I capable of now? Fitness is the ultimate reframe, because you adapt and you continuously find out things that you're more capable of. And, now I'm at a point where, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm diabetic for a reason. I like my sweets, but, if I want to indulge from time to time, it doesn't matter. It's that little, the 20 grams of sugar I have that one day is not going to ruin my fitness. It's not going to ruin my health. It's the freedom I give myself by doing things that are hard and by stepping out of my comfort zone and doing them. And let me tell you something else about the simplicity of it, because I remember texting Michael a while back, asking him about the Lombard 69, and he was like, well, I know you do a lot of other things already, but you know what I did that day is I read my 10 pages. Because I needed the intention. So when it comes to mindset, it starts with, let's look at the positive. What are we trying to achieve? Not what are we trying to avoid?
I love that.
What do we want to get out of this? And it doesn't mean like, hey, what am I going to look at 2 years from now? Well, just how, like you said, or Mike was saying, when you start looking at the progress pics, how do I want to feel a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now?
Right.
I read about this in my first book. I even remember, because I was almost 240. And this is long before I ever discovered Spartan or anything like that. I remember I was at the gym and I texted my boss that morning and I was like, dude, I'm down to 216 today. I'm a $185 right now. And I was celebrating 216, and we should. So I would go with the reframe of like, I want more for myself, and this is how I can go get it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to think of it. And I was just talking to my wife this morning as we got up. We're hitting 20 years this June, which is crazy. 2 decades has flown by. And, I was just thinking, we both talked about some of our aches and pains and joints, and we're just kind of chatting about that this morning. And I was like, we got 40 more. There's a chance we got 40 more years. Like that's very reasonable to think we could have 40 more years of marriage, 40 more years being together, 40 more years on this planet. What do we want that 40 years to look like? And I think about, like my daughter's 16, probably in the next decade, I'll become a grandpa at some point, have little ones running around. I want to get on the floor and
little Iron Man
play with them, pick them up, and throw them around a little bit and do those kind of things. And I don't want to, to not be able to do that because of the choices that I'm making now. So I think it's a combination, Nick. It's like, yeah, those little bitty kind of, micro wins now, definitely celebrate those, but also think about like, what is 20 years from now going to look like with my family, with my grandkids, with that. I mean, Lord willing, if I'm blessed to have 20, 30, 40 more years, how can I just make a better choice today that I'm going to appreciate in 20, 30 years? I'm going to be thankful that I did it, because they just all add up.
Not one of us right now looks like we should be in some YouTube training montage, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get intimidated, is thinking they have to be something they're not. I mean, I don't think you see me doing anything but body weight exercises on these. Michael's been walking around most of the time. You're in your home.
Right.
Everything we're doing is something that somebody can start and pick up today.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we're not out here killing ourselves like crazy. We're just trying to take care of ourselves. And I think that's critical, man. That's awesome. That's just really critical.
Definitely I definitely agree with Nick in what he's saying, because I know a woman in the fitness industry. She's been a personal trainer for over a decade. She's been big on helping women with their eating habits, and it is kind of like commonly known in the fitness industry. You don't want to use exercise as an excuse for food, and like vice versa. You don't, like, if you eat so much, if you eat the X, you should exercise X long, because it ends up just it starts to slowly deteriorate kind of your mental health, and then it leads to like turnover. But you do need to start somewhere. But along the same lines, like, great quote, Nick kind of essentially said is something similar, but Nick Bear, the founder of BPN, which are supplements I take on for like triathlon endurance fuel stuff. I mean, he one of his greatest quotes is, "Nobody cares how hard you work. What did you achieve?" Like, like, what did you achieve? Like, nobody's gonna care about like how hard you worked at something. What did you achieve? Because that's what they're gonna see, and that's also what you're gonna. That's also what you're gonna see.
That should be on the wall of every sales floor in the country too.
Yeah. What do you want to achieve? Like, that's easy. Like, that's the main highlight. Like, you can work really hard and work really hard at something, but if there's nothing that you're looking to achieve, then what that work is it hard? Does that work have a purpose? Like, I don't know. It was an interesting quote to kind of philosophize about when I was reading it yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I heard this once. I had a friend when I lived in Oregon. One of our good friends was a doctor / athletic trainer, physical therapist guy, and he was telling me that, I'd never heard this before. He goes, if you just have that piece of pie at Christmas, you got to run 2 miles to burn that off. Because you're not going to do it. Like you said, Michael, if you're trying to keep up with these things, that's not the way to think about it, and it's eventually going to drive you insane. But if you're doing the right things, if you're making the good choices, and that piece of pie once every, 3 or 4 weeks, is not going to kill you.
And when it comes to weight loss, another reason why people get caught up is, like, you ate this piece of pie, so you need to run 2 miles. Weight, like, the losing of body fat comes in being in a calorie deficit over the course of weeks and months, not days. Like,
right.
You have to stack the days, so that way you're in a deficit for the week, because you don't lose a pound. You can't lose a pound or gain a pound overnight. Like, your body doesn't make body fat overnight.
Weight loss isn't transactional, right? It's an RFP. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
I
a ton of truth to that.
Already.
It's kind of like going to the gym. Like, you can go to the gym and work hard for 2 hours. there's going to be no noticeable difference. Just doing it one time. But if you do that,
If
you do
anything,
30 minutes, consistently, well, you'll hurt a lot. Yeah. But, if you do 30 minutes every day or 4 days a week for a month, then you'll start to see some of those gains,
I'll be
It's
honest,
amazing. Like,
bodies are amazing, dude. We start to adapt like very quickly. You don't notice the changes right away, but sometimes you notice how something suddenly starts to get easier. How day 3 of running, all of a sudden, that first couple minutes feels almost natural. Like our bodies are supposed to be in motion.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep coming back to like what we've done to ourselves from a work standpoint because, lifespans were probably shorter back, 100, 150 years ago. But people were out farming. They were building stuff. They were working with their hands. They were, they were getting after it, and probably in better shape for a lot longer than we are now. It's like we have to force ourselves. It's so, Michael. It's so funny because you talked about this with the Broker Carrier Summit. You gave the analogy that like you have to go to a concert now to know that the music is actually real. It's like we have to go back full circle. It's like with Broker Carrier Summit, you have to come together to know that the carrier that you're working with is actually the carrier, like he's a real person. And in some ways, this is kind of the same way. It's like we have done such a good job culturally of making life easy and comfortable that we have to force ourselves to go and kind of live the way that we were really designed to live,
You're talking to the guy who hasn't had running water in 10 days. So yeah, I know what you mean.
You haven't had running water in 10 days?
No, dude, my a pipe bust like last Thursday. 2 days before our inspection, we're selling the house, so it's like
I remember that, but it's still not.
I'm getting the whole thing replumbed. I just got a new water heater yesterday.
Oh my goodness, that's fun!
It's like Little House on the Prairie over here. I went to the Lombard. I went to Cleary's house a couple times to take a shower. I went to the gym to shower yesterday. We're filling up the toilets from the pool. It takes me an hour and a half to do the dishes. It's like Little House on the Prairie over here.
Life has completely changed in the Klingensmith house.
We're only
no dishwasher, no running water. And
you have the washboard in the backyard. You're cleaning the clothes, doing laundry.
We're only 1 degree of separation from the Amish.
Dude, that's pretty wild to think about. It's pretty crazy to think about that. When you think about, and this is an interesting thing now with all this talk about RFK and the FDA and vaccines and health and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting that the Amish are now kind of in the spotlight lately. From that perspective, from a vaccine perspective. And, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen a ton of Amish in my life, but every time I've seen Amish, I haven't seen an overweight, like obese Amish person. I mean, maybe there's some out there. I'm sure there are plenty out there. I haven't seen a lot of them.
I was just going to say some of the top athletes in obstacle course racing, they do manual labor. One dude's a roofer, one dude's cut down, another buddy cuts down. I mean, they're in the best shape out of 99% of the people before they even train for it.
Yeah.
What is kind of crazy with that, because and that kind of goes into like a theory that I have, but like when you talk about 100 years ago, like the life expectancy, like the only reason I've looked at these stats, like life expectancy has gone up from like 100 or 150 years ago, mainly because of modern medicine. Like people don't
drugs,
like, you get a cut, like, so it's crazy to see, like people definitely lived healthier longer, as opposed to where today people are living longer, but they're not living healthier. So it's kind of a double, it's kind of like there's a double take to it. And when it comes to the Amish, when it comes to those people, like, that it's heavy in conversation with the ingredients in food and food quality. And I believe that there's definitely validity in that argument of like what we're doing with our food system, how it's optimized for profit. But I still think that the root cause of the issues has everything to do with movement, because when you look at society from post World War II to today, what has happened, I mean, in all of society is based on the car, on the automobile. Like you can't participate in society without it. Like even if you want to get milk, like we live someplace that is separate from anything we need, which has never happened in history before, ever. Like we're never that, we don't live far from where our schools are. We don't live from where our food is. We don't live far from water. And I really think it does boil down to the foundation of the movement. And then you stack the food quality on top of it, and it just becomes a perfect storm of like metabolic dysfunction. But I really like, I think and I'm not anti-car, but I feel like if cars were, if half of society didn't have to drive every day, I mean, I think you'd see a lot of things.
Well, I mean, can you imagine what would be different if you had to walk or ride your bike to the grocery store to get what you needed? And because you're doing that, you can't get a week's worth of food. You get a day's worth of food, maybe, or 2 days worth of food, and then you have to do it again. Like, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, Michael, that just because we have a car, it's radically changed how we go about things.
Everybody gets their food delivered now. We're not even taking
Yeah.
the 25-foot walk from the front door to the car.
Right. It's pretty crazy. We don't even have to get in the car to do it. Yeah, we've made it so convenient. And I think about this, like, and we talk about the supply chains, how critical they are. I mean, if supply chains go down, I mean, we're not that far away from not having what we need at all. You know, I mean, it's pretty wild to think about. Jeff Dickinson needs a double knee and double shoulder replacements. Whew. You used to run 30 to 40 miles a week. I didn't even know that, dude. That was crazy. Man, can you run again with double knee replacements? Can you run on artificial knees?
I know a triathlon coach. Her name's Jen Reinhardt. I went for rides with her. She just went to Ironman Cozumel. She's 65. She had both knees replaced like a little over a year ago. So I mean, it is
back at it.
It is doable. I mean,
dude, I've heard that hip replacements are actually the easiest replacements to have and recover from. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, my
like
mom
hip joint is a crazy. That's a crazy joint, and it's just like no big deal anymore. That's wild to think about, man. That is wild to think about.
You know, to Michael's point, the car is not the only thing. It's like, look at my situation, right? The dishwasher, the laundry, like all these things, all these modern conveniences, all the automation, all these things make us weak.
Yeah.
When things go wrong, I mean, I'll even call myself out because for a couple of days, it's like, oh, whatever, it's one thing. But then, you know, the other day we're like, all right, we just need to go get some takeout from somewhere because I don't want to clean this fucking mess. And which means our food choices started to go down. You start compromising because
what are you going to go get? You're not getting a salad from Subway or something when you do that. Usually
it was like
getting a burger or something.
A sobering wake-up call I can't recommend to the listeners of the show and you guys enough is definitely Michael Easter's The Comfort Crisis. I mean, it really goes into like the science behind everything that we're talking about and like and a lot more like historical stuff, but it really breaks down the actual like true science behind like this entire conversation in so many ways. It's really good from why we walk and everything and how actually over time it has led to a rise of like we're living in the most comfortable times in human history, yet we suffer from the highest rates of depression, anxiety, all this stuff. And he even goes into the country of Bhutan. Bhutan is like one of the poorest countries by their GDP, but they're considered the happiest country on earth. And like they have the most amount of people who don't fear dying. And it has everything to do with culture, like their culture, their community aspect, and essentially, I mean, they don't live lives with modern technology and everything like that. It's a really good read for anybody out there.
That's good. We got it up there right there. So Comfort Crisis. It's paperback's $35.
Even goes into like the rise of the helicopter parent in like the early 1990s, where like and kids like where after the rise of the helicopter parent, like it goes into how different cultures, like there's always a rite of passage for like young kids, and there still are, like where you had to like go, and like that rite of passage was always like you have to go out on your own for a little bit and like hunt an animal or whatever it is. Like you need to leave and the Amish do this where you leave the Amish society for a certain amount of time, and there's this like rite of passage, and like that doesn't exist. There is no rite of passage for like younger kids these days. They don't like, there's not like one specific thing that they do where they're like out on their own and they figure it out and come back there. For the most part, looked over, taken care of, they're withheld from danger
right
for into their adulthood, and the result is just depression, anxiety, teen suicide rates, all this stuff.
when did that happen? Because I remember just growing up, like just you just go out and try stuff, you just go out and do stuff. Man, when did that helicopter? What caused that to happen?
It was
And before you answer that question, congratulations, Scott, on the house sale.
Yeah.
Hope that goes smoothly, my friend. I know Nick wishes you well as well with what he's doing. Also, we got a question: are you rucking? Yes, Michael is rucking. It's a game changer. 20 pounds. Anyways, when did this happen? When did this helicopter parent thing happen? I feel like I'm a little bit of a helicopter parent, but I'm also
A little
like
girl fell down
like
the well.
It's the ads from the late 80s, early 90s
You
of
know where your
the
kids are.
it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? Those are because it's when and it has to do with the media, because the media started to report more on like, and this isn't a bad thing, but the media, there were stories.
Dateline,
Yeah, there
not
were,
lying, whatever.
exactly. There's stories, there's shows dedicated to like missing persons, and there were literally commercials like on TV, like it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
I saw a TikTok about that the other day, just making fun of or whatever this generation. Like, you kidding me? We had to, the damn national media had to put out a reminder for parents to like make sure your kids were.
That's true, man. I'll tell you, like I you know, my parents divorced when I was 7. I lived with my dad. He worked, of course, and like in the summers, for example, I'd wake up in the morning, he's gone. My buddies would be like, "Hey, are you coming over?" And it was like, "Yeah, I'd ride my bike over. It's 4 miles from the house. I'll ride my bike over." And I'm 12 years old,
Bro, I
and it was no
hitchhiked
big
to
deal.
get around.
Do what?
I hitchhiked to get around.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever it took. I mean, if it was close enough, I definitely would just walk or whatever. But it's pretty wild to think about, the difference between now and then. I still tend to act like that. I don't lock my doors on my car when I'm out. I almost feel like I'm just daring society to just let me live that way. Like, not lock the doors and see what happens.
You're challenging
I don't
them
know.
to be their best selves.
That's right. Like, listen, you don't need this car. You got your own car. Don't worry about it. There's nothing in this, But it's crazy. We've definitely, I think, gone from from kind of just living free to living safe. And one thing I tell my daughter when she drives now is I tell her when she leaves us, instead of saying like be safe or be careful, I say make good choices, pay attention. That's what I say. So I think that I kind of wanted to take some risks. In fact, this is interesting. So 2 weeks ago we had a snowstorm and she had to go to this choir thing an hour and a half away, and we almost didn't let her drive because of the snow. But there's part of me as a dad, I felt like I kind of felt inside of me like she needs to go do this. She needs to prove to herself that she can do this drive, because it wasn't like dangerous snow, but it was snow, and you got to learn how to drive in the snow and those kind of things. So she drove in the snow, got stuck a little bit, called, we talked through a little bit, and she worked her way out of it. And she like has this badge of honor now. Like, hey, I drove an hour and a half away from home in the snow. I was safe. I made it. And I feel like she's going to have more confidence now, from that. And I think that we grew up with that kind of a, situation, So we need more of that. We definitely need more of that. All right. Well, hey, guys, listen, our 30 minutes are up this morning. Love seeing everybody in the comments. By the way, of the people watching, Michael Lombard wins this morning. He had 15 on X tuning in this morning. So if you're on X with Michael Lombard, Freight X, what's up, everybody? Thanks for being a part of it today. Listen, we got a week before Christmas. We got 2 weeks before the end of the new year. It is not too late to get started now on whatever you want your 2025 to look like. So get started. Follow that Lombard 69. If you'd like to know more about it, where can they learn about Lombard 69? Do they got to reach out to you? Is it on a website somewhere? Is it on your LinkedIn? Where can they find out more?
Yeah, give me a holler. I'm working with a team right now to build a website on everything that I'm doing, especially which I wanted to plug that before we get on. We are, I am officially raising money for Project 61, a nonprofit dedicated to getting educational resources to drivers regarding truck driver health.
Dude, are you on the highway right now?
What's that?
Are you on the highway right now?
No, I'm on. I'm in my neighborhood.
I'm like, it looked like a truck just went by. I'm like,
It was a bus, school bus. It looked like a school bus, early morning school bus. I'll tell you what, Michael, send me the information about Lombard 69, and I'll put it on the Iron Minds website, ironminds.io. I'll create a page for you and put it on there as well.
Ah, perfect. Yes. Yeah, and people can always find me anywhere at Lombard Trucking, and I can help set you up. I can dial you in on it, and I'll send you the tips, Trey. But yeah, you can peep all my socials at lombardtrucking.com though. I do own the domain.
Also, don't forget to follow Nick Klingensmith. You can go to stridemotivation.com and catch up with him as well. And check us out at ironminds.io. You can buy some merch. We got shirts, we got water bottles, all kinds of good stuff. Be a part of the community, be a part of what we're doing here, which is great. And we'll be back next Tuesday. Listen, I know next Tuesday is Christmas Eve, but I'm going to be up. Are you going to be
I'm
up?
here.
We're going to be
I'm
here.
here.
Listen, we got to make it happen no matter what. And until then, folks, have a wonderful week. Don't forget, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Be your best self. We'll see you guys real soon. Peace out, everybody. Let's go.